There are tons of high quality, passionate, and flat out amazing Roblox games that don't get the attention they deserve. Some of which have fallen from glory, starting out popular but losing a ton of attention as the game grows, while others just flat out don't get any attention to begin with. Today I wanted to talk about one of those games, Aegis Reborn. Aegis is a sandbox combat simulator that can be most easily compared to the old Armor Patrol. Now, Aegis was never a dead game by any means, accumulating over 1.3 million visits. The game also gets pretty frequent updates in comparison to other games I've covered on this channel that have smaller player bases, mainly Starscape and Electric State. Oh yeah, the next type of old game video like this is going to be on Starscape, so have fun with that. Anyways, despite the frequent updates and former glory of Aegis, the state of the game can be described today as dead, at least when it comes to the player base. Yeah, a 5-player server was the only server I could find when I came on to make this video, and unfortunately that's a lot for the game. From multiple other times trying to play the game usually averages around 2 to 3 players, which for a game intended for a large amount of players makes it pretty bland when the server is empty. Aegis is a pretty in-depth game for Roblox standards, offering loads of different features, with more being added to the game every update. However, the game can really be boiled down into 4 different aspects: factions, combat, vehicles, and building. I'm going to keep the overview of the features relatively brief because I want to explain why you should be playing this game. The first major feature is building. Building allows you to build, well, basically anything, from automated turrets, manual turrets, anti-air guns. You can put up walls, places to store vehicles, mass generators, and storage for mass. Mass, which is the currency for the game that allows you to build buildings. Mass generators can be built around different mass ports all around the map. Taking mass generators allows you to have control over certain parts of the map. The more mass generators you have, the more mass you make, and if you control 90% of the mass generators on the map, your team wins. However, mass generators can be destroyed by the enemy being every other team, so building defenses and building mass generators are highly important when it comes to winning the game. You could even go as far as saying building is winning. Moving on, we have teams in Aegis. Teams in Aegis can essentially be fully custom, with each team being able to choose a custom name and an available color. There are 9 team colors in Aegis: red, yellow, orange, green, blue, cyan, purple, pink, and gray. However, there can only be as many colors as teams, therefore there can only be 9 teams in any given time in an Aegis game. Teams also have a ranking system, with there being 3 ranks in a team: Monarch, Assistant, and Operator. Monarch is usually the creator of the team, but it's anybody who leads the team at any time. When the Monarch leaves, usually the eldest, most high-rank player receives Monarch. However, the Monarch can also handpick an heir before they leave, giving anybody they want team leadership. Monarchs can control the pay of people in their team, and they can also give people promotions. Moving on, we have the Assistant. The Assistant is the middle rank players. Like the Monarch, Assistants have permission to build what they want using the team's mass. However, Assistants don't have leadership over the faction, meaning they cannot set wages and they cannot promote people. And lastly, we have the Operator. The Operator is the standard recruit and default rank whenever someone joins a faction. The only thing operators can build are vehicles and mass generators that don't use the team's mass. Operators cannot spend team mass in any way, shape, or form, instead relying on their own wallets to get them what they need. Moving on, we have vehicles. Aegis has vehicles for land, sea, and sky, including jeeps, tanks, gunboats, destroyers, helicopters, and jet fighters. Vehicles can only be bought with money, which players can earn from playing the game or winning a game of Aegis. However, better vehicles are usually locked behind a certain level and tend to cost a lot of money. Vehicles also play a major role in our final topic of combat. Vehicle combat in Aegis is often like a game of rock, paper, scissors. SAMs are often good for taking out air vehicles like helicopters and planes. However, SAMs aren't so good for taking out tanks. Meanwhile, player-mounted artillery and cannons are good for taking out tanks, but not so much for taking out air vehicles. However, larger boats like the Destroyer can easily outrange short-range player weaponry, with players needing to resort to long-range artillery in order to hit their target. Now, having a diverse arsenal is also going to benefit you in a situation, both offensively and defensively. If people know that you're just going to come in a helicopter and try and take out their stuff with an RPG, they're going to spam AA guns so that way you don't even get close to their base. But sometimes the enemy can fortify their base a little too much to make it nearly impossible to go near there without being gunned down. Fortunately for you, there are handheld weapons. Pistols, SMGs, rifles, rocket launchers, C4, night vision goggles, all equipment that you could use to infiltrate the enemy's base and destroy their buildings without being noticed. However, unlike in a vehicle, you're extremely vulnerable to just normal bullet fire. So I recommend only going in infantry if the base has low defense, you're confident you won't be noticed, or you know the enemy won't fight back. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, well, this sounds boring, I don't want to play this. And to that, I say just click off the video now. However, for those of you convinced, there will be a link to Aegis in the description below. Now, why exactly is Aegis such a good game? Why should you play it? Why should you take your time out of your day to enjoy Aegis? Well, first of all, I believe that Aegis is a pretty one-of-a-kind game. The open world, the conflict, and just the freedom Aegis gives you is unlike any other combat sandbox on Roblox. I mean, sure, there are games like Armored Patrol and other games that try and emulate this, but none of them emulate it as well as Aegis. Well, except for maybe Armored Patrol. I feel like Aegis also has a lot of the feel, like the UI looks, the building, all is kind of resembling of an era that was lost. Most games nowadays will try and resort to using low poly meshes, tons of other meshes, and flashy objects to try and make the game look realistic or cool or charming. Meanwhile, Aegis offers something that many games haven't offered for years. A charming 2015-2016 era look and feel. Not to mention that a majority of Modern Warfare or Roblox games come in the form of first-person shooters, not games like Aegis. So yeah, if you're bored and you have some time to kill and you want to get a couple of friends to play a half-decent game involving fighting, Aegis, just play Aegis. The more people you have, the more chaotic it gets and the more fun it is. Anyways, that's all from me. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'll try and get a Starscape video out next week, but no guarantees. I start school Monday and that's probably going to be taking up most of my free time. Anyways, adios.